Hi. I was pushing buttons. I realized all of a sudden nobody can hear me. There's a bunch of garbage going on. I can't get on here. I figured it out. I'm letting a bunch of people in. My sisters, I see you on here. I'm calling you as soon as this webinar is over because I need to talk to you. Okay? I see you. I'll call you as soon as this is over. I'll give you a call, Andrea. Okay. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Because there's some things I want to talk to you guys about better business practices. Nobody has anything they want to discuss. Here comes the peeps. Here comes my girls. Okay, everybody's still getting logged on. I'm sorry, I wasn't late this morning, so it goes a little quicker that sometimes when I'm not late.
Good
All right,
morning, Patty.
Hi, what do you got?
Hi, nice lipstick.
Oh,
You look lovely.
it's lip stain and I think it's too dark, but that's okay. I'm not going anywhere special except for you guys. So, hey, I don't care for it. It's going in the trash. Does anybody have any questions about current challenges?
I do. I have a question.
Which,
So regarding the barbecues, the new like the disclosure, the addendum.
uh-huh.
Okay, so I have a property in the city of Inglewood, and there's barbecues everywhere. Like, this is a property I've spoken to you about where they've overtaken the whole building and it's like their own park and whatever. So they have thousands of them. I mean, not, I'm exaggerating, but there's like 24 of them. So if I want to add this addendum to our lease, obviously all of them, we all have leases. They had a 1-year lease. It's now month to month. Everybody's been living there for 10 plus years. Do I just give them a 30-day notice with the attachment, with the addendum attached? Just like that? Okay.
I know I
Very
made
good.
it too
Good.
easy. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. This is way too easy. Yep, it's that easy.
And the 30-day notice, it would be a change in terms of tenancy, or what notice?
Correct. What you're serving is a 30-day change of terms of tenancy in regards to cooking outdoors. Please see the attached addendum, which is now incorporated in part of your lease contract within 30 days.
Okay, cooking outdoors, please see attached addendum, which
Which
is
is now
now
incorporated as part of your rental contract in the next 30 days.
incorporated into your rental contract within the next 30 days.
Because it's a 30-day notice. So on day 31, it is the rules.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So
Okay,
if they
here
don't,
comes
Patty, if they don't comply, then you send a 3-day?
a 3-day curable breach of covenant. Yep,
And then if they don't comply, then an eviction?
exactly. A 3-day cure or quit is, hang on, I'm still letting people in, you guys, sorry. A 3-day curable breach of covenant is the start of an eviction process. So just look at it this way. It's the same thing we do for unauthorized occupants. You have 2 key notices in your rental portfolio that we use. One's a 3-day pay, rent, or quit, and one's a 3-day cure or quit. The pay, rent, or quit is for rent only. The 3-day cure or quit, also known as a 3-day curable breach of covenant, one is legal jargon, one is property management slang. We all call it a 3-day cure or quit, but the legal term is a 3-day curable breach of covenant notice. I know it's a mouthful. Now you know why property managers call it a cure or quit. We use that for everything else. Unauthorized occupants, unauthorized pets, not paying a late fee, anything that's a violation of the written rental contract, including a broken window that they didn't pay to have repaired, including the expenses for the extermination of bed bugs that was caused to be their fault. including, so you understand, a 3-day pay rent or quit is only for rent. And a cure or quit is for everything else they're doing wrong. Make sense? So you would serve them with a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy. And then what follows that is a cure or quit on day 31 for not removing the barbecues, because it's now a material term of the contract. And if I were you, I would serve the 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy. And then on day 31, I'd send a reminder that the new contract says that there's no barbecues on this property. So please take note that building ownership will remove them for you and bill you accordingly if you don't remove them yourself by such and such date.
And when
Okay,
on
so
a, you just do that on a regular letterhead, or is there an actual like car form?
you're
sorry.
doing it on a letterhead. Do not use absolute terms.
Okay.
Email it
Okay.
to Patty for a second set of eyes, okay? Because you don't want to threaten. If you're
Okay.
unable to remove these items, building ownership will do it for you and send you the invoice. Please let us know. It's a nice way to tell them. If you don't
Yeah.
get it out of here, we're gonna.
Right, okay. Also,
right.
Patty, just a side note, I did send you an email. I sent it to pattyl@fastavic.com today. I had sent it last week too. To ask again if you would please send me, remember the form that we spoke about last time, the one that everything causes cancer? And I wanted to mimic yours.
Uh-huh.
And
It honestly doesn't matter because you have to list 2 items, right?
yeah, I just wanted
Okay.
to see how you put it, and I just want to just mimic yours.
Honestly, I think mine is acetone,
Uh-huh.
and I'm trying to remember what my other chemical is. I think I used acetone and ammonia.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Whatever
Well,
you, I'm like,
and my thing is, where do you use acetone? Well, tenants use it to take off their nail polish. So, hey, that causes cancer.
okay. Yeah. I just want to see yours and copy it, because I'm like, if it's good enough for Widget, it's good enough for me.
I think the biggest thing that I could tell you guys is do that extra addendum I was telling you about in regards to, hang on, somebody's trying to call me. In regards to animals indigenous to the area. That is something that no apartment association has out there, none. And the only reason that I ever said, hey, we need to do something is because tenants moved in and within 3 days, their dog was bitten by a rattlesnake and died. It's horrible, okay? What if that was a kid, okay? I wanted something on file that protected my owners from animals indigenous to the area. I mean, I'm just talking out loud. What if a possum bites somebody? Is the owner liable? Maybe not as much if we warned them about it in advance, saying that there's animals indigenous to this area that came here before humans were ever here. Okay, so I use an addendum that it hasn't existed until I came up with it, okay? And it's called an addendum for animals indigenous to the area, which helps protect a landlord against God knows what, doing God knows what, meaning a coyote, a raccoon, a possum, a mountain lion, a bear, a rattlesnake. Any of these things could become a pest or a nuisance to the tenant, and we need to notify them. That way, if something happens, it doesn't bite us later, okay? All right, I got some other messages to answer. Let me get to them. Hi, Amy. I know if you're under RSO, relocation fees are very high. What about non-RSO units? This would be for an owner move-in. Is it just 1 month's rent? Not necessarily. If you're not governed by RSO, then you're governed by DCBA. And if you're not governed by DCBA, then you're governed by LAHD. So if you're in LA County, you can run, but you can't hide. In other places, I would tell you, yes, you're absolutely correct. But if this is in Los Angeles County, I need to know the address. I need to know what city it's in. I need to know what the governing party is. There are areas of the city of Torrance that are unincorporated and are governed by Larceau.
Oh,
Sherman Oaks, governed by Larceau. Wilmington, governed by Larceau. So that's what I mean by that, is you can run, but you can't hide. But you're governed by somebody. So it may not necessarily be that. If you're in
this is Redondo Beach.
Redondo Beach, it's
Yeah.
not RSO. I could tell you that right away.
Yes,
So it's probably just going to be 1 month's rent. No
Okay.
joke.
Thank you.
But I want to run the address before
Right.
we.
Right. Okay,
Because you never
thank you.
know. No worries. And I mean, it really does. Hello, Patty, please don't throw the lip stain away. It might come in handy. It looks good. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I like this. It's kind of dark for me, but oh well. Figured you guys would tell me, yeah, get rid of it or no, keep it. It looks good. Anyway, my evicted tenant from a month ago keeps coming to the property and looking for crap in the backyard. The sheriff is absolutely useless. He's not breaking into the house or the garage where we have alarm, but he comes almost every day to search through the leftover rubble. He was evicted. You can let him know that he's trespassing. Put up no trespassing signs. And Val, I hate to tell you this, but I'm going to say it. The reason you're not getting any assistance from the sheriff is, do you have a 602 letter on file? Put a 602 letter on file for that address, okay? I hope that makes sense, Val. No 602. Put a 602 letter on file that gives permission for sheriffs to make arrests on the property for trespassing. If you want their help, you got to help them too. And you guys, I don't know if you've seen the new this is Patty trying to say something without scaring the crap out of all of you. Okay? But the world we live in has become a very scary place. You know, I saw an article that they're having a whole lot of trouble in Haiti. So much so that the prisoners overran security and in law enforcement. And now the prisons are empty. There's no one in them. They're vacant. And all of those prisoners are running amok all over the town. Wait a minute. Do you mean those people could have crossed into our border and they're here now? Are we seeing a lot more things that seem to be not of our country, not of our nature, not something we normally do? Are we starting to see weird things happening in our own neighborhoods? Do you know the reason that people are walking out of stores with carts full of groceries? Because it's a misdemeanor if it's under $1,500 and not an arrestable offense. $1,500. Is somebody trying to say something to me or somebody So what I'm trying to tell you guys is people are walking out of the store with a whole cart full of groceries because nothing is stopping them. The stores can't speak to them or say anything about it or approach them or detain them or do anything. But we can say, hey, I have to pay 3 times the amount of something I was paying for last week because you guys are stealing shit. I know I said something at the store and I shouldn't have. He's searching through the rubble. Put a 602 on file. Next time you see him on the property, have him arrested. Put ring doorbells up. Put them up in the trees. Don't put them on the house. All right, Arlene, if rent is due on the 1st and you get the PayPal on the 1st, but the funds don't come for a day or 2, is that late? Thanks. Nope. Do you want to know why? Think of it when something's postmarked. If it's postmarked on the 1st, it's not late.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm just talking to you out loud because I had a tenant once when I worked in corporate America. And this tenant sent me her rent every month by the 15th or the 18th. But it was always postmarked the 1st. So went to legal counsel, went to the supervisor, went to my broker, went to everybody saying this is BS. Every flipping month. Her check doesn't come till the 18th of the month, but it's always postmarked on the 1st. Wherever this woman worked in the office, they had a postage machine. And every month on the 1st, she postmarked an envelope and then used it later in the month. How do I know this? I finally caught her. Do you want to know how? She paid with a money order. The money order is dated when they purchased it. And she purchased it on the 14th of the month. So because of the money order, I was able to ding her as being late. But other than that, I couldn't do anything about it. Okay, so just think of it when they deposit it and it says pending, think of that as being the postmark. Can't do anything about it, okay? It was there when it was supposed to be. If my bank is taking a couple of days for it to post, that's my problem, not the tenant's.
Okay, thank you.
I don't like it, but that's the answer. I don't even like it.
I have a question to piggyback on that. So like if
Sure.
everyone rent is on the 1st and they have up until the 5th day to pay the rent, right? If that's their grace period. And
Before the late fee applies. The rent is still due on the 1st and delinquent on the 2nd.
correct. Okay, so they
Okay.
have them until the 5th before the late fee applies. And I got this lady's I got this woman's payment. I received it on the 7th, but the envelope is postmarked the 5th. In that
She's
case,
not late.
she's not late. Okay, so just take out the late fee for this month. Okay, very good. So if it's postmarked the 5th, no late fee.
Correct. I went round and round with that. Like I said, I chased this lady for almost 2 years. Like, how is she doing this? It was just mind-boggling to me. The post office doesn't take 14 days to mail us a letter. What is going on here? And why is it only this tenant? Come on, Patty, you got to be a little more savvy if you're going to figure it out. But that's the why behind it, okay? For
Did you have to-
of us, that's our kid. How sad. I don't know what we're referring to. Remind me, please. And yes, it is sad. Some of the things that happen, it's very sad. Yes, do a 602 annually. Completely agree with you. What is a 602 letter? Go down to your local law enforcement, wherever your property is. If it's in Lake Elsinore, go to the Lake Elsinore Sheriff's Department, okay? And I'm just giving you an example. Walk in there and tell them you want to put a 602 letter on file. What that is if an officer wants to make an arrest on private property for trespassing, they have to have written permission from the landlord. That 602 letter gives them written permission to make an arrest on the property for trespassing. Without it, they will do nothing. Nothing, because they don't have your permission. So a 602 letter is something that you want on file with every single one of your properties every year. It expires. It's only good for 12 months. So you need to go back every year.
You can do it on, you can get it online and you can mail it in. And I was shocked because my local police department called me this year to say it's expired. And I said, no, I already sent the new one in, but I was shocked.
I'm impressed. That means that they're diligently trying to help make sure that landlords keep these on file to help them. I don't know if you guys all know this, but starting January 1st, they canceled all of the crime-free housing that we do with law enforcement. That is now considered discriminatory.
Deben de tener una estampilla. ¿Tú eres la que pones la estampilla aquí?
So no more crime-free housing at the police department, at the sheriff's department. They're saying that it doesn't stop crime and it's a way for landlords to gang up on bad tenants with the help of law enforcement. That is not what happens at these meetings at all, at all. But with that said, that's how it's viewed and looked at this point. So crime-free housing is now discriminatory and is no longer allowed. Donald Trump will not solve the immigration problem. He is a clear and present danger to our democracy. He is already planning on establishing a dictatorship. I don't know who's going to help us, okay? And I try to keep political things out of Widget's way so that nobody gets offended and nobody gets upset. But I'll say this. Trump did good business for our country. He did. He did good business. He has a mouth on him that gets him in trouble. We know a lot of people that way too, right? I know a few tenants that got a mouth on them. That didn't do us any justice, any favors, but having our borders open the way that they are and eliminating our resources to feed and house these refugees. I mean, if they come in and say they're a refugee, we have to feed them and house them. New York's now giving them $12 or $13 a day to feed them. And basically giving them a Visa card with $13 a day on it for them to utilize. And that way their thinking is it will boost the economy because it's feeding businesses and stores and so forth. I don't agree with any of it. The world is becoming a very scary place, and I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I'm not trying to pull politics into Widget's way. I think we can all agree on one thing. Right now, the system is broken. It is not working, and it is not benefiting anyone that is investing into it. It is benefiting people that aren't invested in it and are utilizing it to their benefit. And I'll leave my statement at that. In other words, us taxpayers are paying through the nose and we're running out of money, but other people aren't paying through the nose and it's just getting handed to them. And for us, that's extremely frustrating. For me personally, it's very frustrating. I think that if I work hard and pay my bills, I shouldn't have to pay for others that are manipulating the system that are fully capable of working. I have no problem helping assist people that are disabled, that can't work. I get that. I'm fine with that. I love helping people that need a little more assistance, but I'm not about helping people that aren't willing to help themselves. That's a problem for me. Okay, I'll leave it at that. What phone I can call you to discuss a new case and a question? You can call the law firm I work at. You can call Fast Evict 909-889-2000. 909-889-2000.
Hello?
Hi. How can I help you?
Okay.
Nope, somebody's unmuted. Geraldo, Val, I got you. Geraldo, I got it. See, that's why I say keep politics out of it because everybody has an opinion. All right, we're going to skip all of that.
Patty?
I get it. Yes.
Okay, this is Marion. And based upon what you said just a little earlier, and I want to ask you your opinion on it. So
Okay.
when there is a Section 8 tenant, okay,
Mhm.
the lease that I have, it's about 11 years old that she signed up. She's been a tenant for 11 years and she's been a bitch and a pain in the ass from the beginning. She's on Section 8. Section 8, they do not cooperate really with the owners. They only cooperate with the tenants, okay? I will never do it again. Here's the deal. When it comes to the things she's done to my unit, she's modified it dramatically without my permission. So, and because she's on Section 8, do I have the right to change, put in make changes to the lease agreement, because now it's month to month? I know what you were saying to the other person, but I don't know if that was a Section 8 or a non-Section 8er. But I want the ability to tell her, no, I'm starting an eviction on her now, but I don't necessarily agree with what the attorney is saying about some of the things. He says he doesn't believe that the court will actually evict her based upon her making all these changes to the property. I wanted to get your opinion. And she has removed all of my window coverings. She's put in 2 new windows. She has removed the grab bar. She's removed the ceiling fan lights. I can go on and on and on, and constantly haranguing and harassing me. When her heater, when a wall heater had gone out, she thought it was a simple matter. Go get a new heater, slap it in, and you're done. But you and I both know that with the city and LA,
It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. It took months. So she's asking for reimbursement because she says she's been without her heat for 72 days, which is not true. I did call LAHD. I did contact Section 8. And they said, you offered her a temporary heater? Yes, I did. And she did what? She denied it. I offered her to put her up in a hotel, and she denied it. I'm not staying at Best Western. Both entities said, you don't owe her anything. You don't owe her any days out, because I told her in writing she was able to stay, just stay the heck out of the way of the contractors. She can't keep her mouth closed. She is walking around recording them, every move they make, and they don't feel comfortable doing that. So,
Yeah,
and I
you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Okay.
It just doesn't work that way in America. Just
Okay.
saying.
Okay.
With that being said, let me give you the verbiage you need, so pay attention.
Okay.
Based on the fact that we tried to give you reasonable accommodations and also provide you with temporary heaters for your home, which you refused, we are not required to give you a rent credit while it was being repaired because you denied reasonable accommodations.
Okay. That's a lot. Where can I get that? Because I was listening to you and not writing. So, so how can I
All right,
get that?
all right. Just this, I'm going to try one more time, okay? And I'm just planting the seed.
Okay.
Okay. Unfortunately, we offered you reasonable accommodations to go to a hotel and also to provide you with a portable heater. You denied our reasonable accommodations, so no rent credit will be issued.
Okay. Okay.
I'm trying.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
But they denied your,
Mhm.
here's other things, okay? So there's a flood in a property and the tenant goes, oh, you're not coming in here because I'm going to get some money out of this. This is going to, you're not coming in. Then you don't get a rent credit. You owe the rent. If you don't let me in to do the repairs, you owe the rent. That's how that works. That's why when you get into eviction court and your tenant starts screaming, I have all these habitability issues and you are not doing all these repairs. That's why your attorney tells you to serve sorry, somebody's trying to call me. That's why your attorney tells you to serve they're calling me again. That's why your attorney tells you to serve a 24-hour notice when your tenant files an answer and they say that you haven't done all these repairs in your eviction trial. Because then when you go to the property, we already know that the tenant is most likely not going to let you in. Okay? We already know that. But we need you to go try so that when you get to the property and the tenant goes, oh no, you're not coming in here. You can't come in here. You're going to mess my case up. Okay, thanks. I'll have a great day. And you leave. We want you to leave that easy. Okay, and there's a reason why. Because when we get in front of the judge, the attorney's going to say, Your Honor, the tenant did complain about all these repairs they needed, but my client went to gain access to do the repairs and the tenant refused to allow entry. If the tenant refuses to allow entry, how does a landlord provide a habitable dwelling?
Okay.
So just so you know, when you're like, the tenant's not going to let me in, I don't know why my attorney's making me serve a 24-hour notice in the middle of a court trial. That's why. We know they're not going to let you in, and we're going to use that against them later. I say we, but I'm not an attorney, you guys. I caught myself where it sounded like I was. I am not.
Okay.
Okay? But that's the why behind that, is so we can show the judge they're not allowing entry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it helps benefit your case.
Yes.
I like it. People come in here all the time. They're like, the attorney wants me to go serve 24-hour notice. And I don't know. It's a big waste of time. They're not going to let me in. Good, because if they don't let you in, that helps your case. You
Uh-huh.
see owners go, what? How does that help me? Because then we're telling the judge they won't let us in. How can we fix anything? They owe the rent because they won't let us in.
And see, that's the whole issue with another one. I have two bad actors, two of them, okay? In essence, they want to own my property without paying for it. They want to act as they're the owners, and I have to beckon to them because they're always putting this verbiage of, I have tenant rights, I have tenant rights, I have tenant
Yes,
rights.
you do. And with your tenant rights, you better follow the rules.
Mm-hmm,
Nobody's saying you don't have rights. You've always had rights.
mm-hmm.
Well, where's this coming from? It
Exactly.
doesn't mean you get to hold my investment property hostage against me, because that's bureaucracy and bullshit.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. That's how I feel. It is
And that-
bullshit. I agree.
I think most of us feel that way. And that's why we all get in here and talk about the different scenarios, what we can do to combat it. We understand the why behind it, because now everybody understands why their attorney tells them to go serve 24-hour notice and try to enter in the middle of a court trial for eviction. And you're
Mhm.
like, why? That's why. That's why. We don't want them to let you in.
So in addition to that, this person has, I don't have a backyard to this fourplex. It's strictly a parking lot. She's trying to convert the parking lot to her own private, backyard. So she has a barbecue grill, although it's not supposed to be in the property. I've told her many times to remove it. She hasn't. She has
3-day cure or quit. 30-day
I have-
notice to change the terms of tenancy. If they're breaking the rules, you need to call them out on it. And if she continues to do it, I'd go through the eviction process.
Mhm.
Just let me say this, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes in corporate America, when we take over a new apartment building, the very first thing we do is assess. Okay, so we may take over a 400-unit apartment building. And while we're sitting there, it's that person that keeps coming up and telling us everything.
Mhm.
Yip, 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 yip. Oh, and this person's doing this wrong, and this person's doing this wrong. And the person that's coming to us like they control everybody, I call them the queen hen. Okay, because it's the biggest hen in the hen house, right? And they're the
Mhm.
one that's controlling everybody else and henpecking everybody else. Okay.
Okay.
Why do they do that? It's smoke and mirrors. They want you to look over here at what all these other people are doing and not at what they're doing.
Okay.
Oh, so usually it's that person, based on my experience in the industry, it's that person that's very boisterous in the very beginning when you take over something like that. That's the first person you evict.
Good.
And what that does is send a message to everybody else that was following their wagon,
Mhm.
letting them know they might not be on that road.
Mhm.
Okay, she can't modify the property without written consent of the landlord. It's a material breach of the contract, serve notice and attack. And when you have someone that's that savvy and is very keen on what they're doing, don't be afraid to call a professional property manager and temporarily hire them just to help you with that one problem so that you don't end up in an orange jumper.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, there's a lot of management companies that you can call and say, hey, can you just help me obtain possession of this one property or this one unit, and see if you can't get a professional in there, because a lot of times it's like henpecking, especially when you're dealing with two females, especially two alpha females.
Okay.
I'm going to do this, and then she's going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, and she's going to do. Get off the merry-go-round, man.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that in my life. So with that being said, usually it's the biggest problem that everybody's following that has the biggest voice is usually the person that I remove from the equation first.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? Because it
Yes.
sends a message to everybody else. Look at it this way. If everybody else thinks that's the biggest and the baddest, and that's the first one you took down, you are now the biggest and the baddest.
Okay.
So it puts you in control very quickly.
Okay.
Okay. That's why we tell landlords that do a takeover, and I'm going to give you guys an example. You guys do a takeover, and I know I have professional property managers in here. You guys do a takeover of a 200 unit community. You have 50 vacant units, so you only have 150 doors, and only 50 of them are paying their rent current. How many evictions do you need to do?
Mhm.
Okay. So we usually start with your 5 biggest problems, your 2 biggest problems, because you don't want to evict 40 people in the same community all at the same time. Why? It's too expensive for you. It's one thing if they're not paying you. It's a whole nother thing if they're not paying you and you're paying out legal expenses. So we tell you to start with the biggest delinquencies, the biggest problems, the biggest nuisances. We start with those first, because once the other people in the property see that you've taken out so-and-so, and oh my God, you actually evicted blah, blah, blah. And I didn't think they'd ever get evicted. Who is this landlord? Who is this property manager? You know what? I think I'm going to go pay my rent. I don't want to play. It sends a message, and it'll help you clean up the community very quickly without you having to do a whole lot. If you just take the biggest problems out first, rather than, and a lot of people, they're just evict the whole building. Too expensive, too expensive.
So do you
Remember-
think that the courtrooms today, the judges today are still going extremely lenient toward the tenant and still anti-landlord? Because, you
In
know,
what county?
in LA,
Yes.
okay, so he was saying he didn't think that I was going to get a lot of mileage out of it. I told him to still move forward, but he didn't think I was going to get all the things that she's done. They're not really curable, because if you've thrown my apparatus away, you've thrown my window coverings away, you've thrown all of those things away, the grab bars, the towel racks, she's just going to make it her own. And
It doesn't matter that she threw those things away. Now
Oh.
it's theft.
Oh, really?
Think about it. If
Okay.
you have a crystal chandelier,
Okay.
okay, and I just did this at my own property, okay? My mom put up this hideous, God love you, mama, sorry, hideous crystal chandelier, but it wasn't crystal, it was made out of plastic, but it didn't
Okay.
look like it. It looked
Okay.
like it was crystal, and it was ginormous, okay? This thing looked like a cross between an octopus and a sunflower. And it was really hard to change the light bulbs in it. And I mean really hard. And I have little midget digits, okay? Because I'm a very petite person, I'm under 5 feet tall. So my hands are very small. So I was the only one that could stick my hand up in this thing to change these stupid little light bulbs. Hated the thing, okay? Monstrosity. But my mother loved it. It was my mom's favorite crystal chandelier.
Mhm.
If the tenant takes it down and throws it away and puts up, for lack of a better term, a booby light, because they don't like my crystal chandelier and they threw it away, is that theft?
To me, it is.
To me, it is.
Yes. Yes.
To law enforcement, it might be. Where is my item?
Yeah, where are all my window coverings and curtains? Just, she just took the everything, the things that you attach it to. She just took everything out and threw it away without having one word with me, because she and I, we know we don't
She's made
like to cut-
modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord to the tune of several $1,000s. And
Okay.
quite frankly, I
Mhm.
want my things back. I don't want her to continue to damage my property and steal from me. And if the court allows it, it kind of tells you exactly where we stand right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you this, in Riverside County and in San Bernardino County, the
Mhm.
chances of you prevailing on that are very high.
Wow. Okay.
Do you understand what I say now when I say you're in a metropolis and I call LA County the devil's cauldron? It's
Yes.
because even the judges there are pro-tenant.
Mhm.
Some of those judges are tenants too.
Yes. Yes, I'm finding that out. Yes.
Uh-huh. So let's talk really quick about the city of Pasadena. They passed a rental control board, just like the city of Inglewood, just like the city of Los Angeles, just like the city of Pasadena, blah, 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 blah. Okay? They have a rent control board. There's 10 members on the city's board that handles the rent control rules. Out of those 10 members on that board that run the whole rent control for the city of Pasadena, 8 of them are tenants and 2 of them are landlords. Wait a minute. So you got tenants making the rules? That's why Pasadena's relocation fees are now $32,750, because that's exactly correct. But Patty, why are they allowing that? It mimics the state. We're 78% tenant occupied. 80% of the vote is tenants. It mimics the state. That's why they're allowed to do it. Right? Yeah.
But if this has always been the case, why now? Okay, if it's always been 75, 78% tenants, why now are we being subjected
I don't
to
know.
this
Within the past 5 years, 8 years, just before COVID hit, they were starting to pass or try to pass laws that were making me raise an eyebrow. As nicely as I could say this, because this county of Los Angeles is majority makeup of tenants, they try to help protect them because they are the majority of voters in that county.
And I'd go so far as to say the majority of low income tenants don't vote at all.
Well, our borders are open, so we're now importing voters. Right?
Right. You can ask the majority of tenants and they'll tell you, I don't even bother with that stuff. That's what they'll tell you. So that surprises
Hi,
me.
Pat. I gotcha. Okay, I see some more questions coming through. We're gonna get to them. My recent eviction, oh, hang on, I got a lot of stuff going on. Amy, let me get her. We're not gonna talk, oh. Geraldo, you had a COVID scammer too? People abusing the system, man. I'm telling you. Insurance question. My recent eviction with a pot farmer, and just so you guys know, Val has a property, the tenant sublet to a pot farmer, a marijuana grower, okay? So they sublet to this grower. Received 1 month of lost rent. We are not finished with the renovation from the damage, mostly due to ordering windows. Yeah, tell me about it. Do you know if insurance pays by the day until the house is finished? I know that it says reasonable time to fix the problem, but 30 days wasn't enough. Do you have loss of rent coverage, Val? Because that's what's gonna kick in for you, is loss of rents, okay? So if you have loss of rent on your insurance policy, then loss of rents would pay you your rent until the issue's fixed. But then let me talk to you real quick. Pay attention, okay? If you have an insurance issue and let's say that everything's fixed and it's all signed off, you better get it rented quick, because after 30 days of it sitting vacant, your policy is going to cancel you for not having a tenant in possession. So Note to self, if you ever have an insurance claim and they sign everything off, you need to get it rented very quickly, because after 30 days of it sitting vacant, your insurance company is most likely going to cancel your policy. Hi, Patty. A tenant pays on time. However, she keeps paying her rent through a third party, a company wiring. Should I initiate communication to clarify the situation? I got questions. What do you mean she's paying her rent through a third party? I don't understand. Do you mean she's selling you? I'm just trying to understand what you're talking about, okay?
Hi, Patty. Just send a company wiring from a company. So wiring
So she's doing a wire transfer?
transfer.
I got questions. Does this person, is this person, an immigrant?
No, local.
I don't understand why they're going through the trouble of a wire transfer for their rent.
Right. Every time they pay the wiring fee also.
That's what I mean. So I'd ask them, I'd tell them, did you want to pay in cash or money order or something that doesn't cost you that wiring fee? Maybe they think that's the only way they can pay you. So I'd talk to them. I'd let them know.
Okay, I would talk to her because she's a business person. She knows, everything. She's a very smart girl.
I understand, but my question is, why is she incurring this expense every month if she's not required to? So you may just kindly want to reach out and say, hey, I see that you're still transferring your rent every month through a wire transfer. I know that's costly. You can give us a personal check or cashier's check or money order if you prefer.
Okay, I will answer. Probably she
Okay.
would say it will treat like company expense. I just wondering if sent through a third party, not on the lease agreement, will be a problem later.
Yeah, it can be. If you accept money from anybody other than your tenant, they become your tenant.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want the company become my tenant.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, more questions. LA City Council just extended eviction protections through May 31st of 2024 with ULA ERAP applications that have been approved and are waiting for their applications to be funded. Arlene?
Yeah, just an FYI.
No, I love you for this. Please help me help you, because this is what we do, girl. And I gotta tell you something, but I need you to call me later so I could tell you, okay?
Okay, okay.
It's a good one. It's a real good one. Let me say this to you. It's correct. Okay, what you're saying is absolutely spot on correct. Don't let it slow you down from starting the process. So you see where Arlene says they have eviction protections? What the court does is say, oh, you have a pending application, we'll come back in 30 days. Oh, your application's still pending? We'll come back in 30 days. 30 days later, oh, your application was denied, we're moving forward. Don't let the additional protections for tenants through May 31st stop you from starting the legal process. The judge knows this law, and they're not going to make a ruling in the case matter until their application is approved or denied. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope so.
One more time, Laura.
You can still start an eviction if your tenant has a pending ULA ERAP application going. You can still file an eviction. Tenants are protected until May 31st. What's going to happen is you're going to get into court at the court trial, and the tenant's going to say, I have a pending application. And the judge is going to say, okay, let's continue this case for 30 days and see where your application is in 30 days. So they're not getting evicted. The court case is on hold. We go back to court in 30 days and they say, oh, it's still pending. Okay, no problem. We'll continue this matter for another 30 days. And they continue the court hearing for another 30 days. Then when you go back to court and you come into court and they say, oh, your application was denied. Good. Writ to issue forthwith, judgment for the plaintiff. you got to move out. Your application was denied. You're no longer protected. So don't let the fact that they extended some protections for tenants with applications with ERAP slow you down if you're trying to start an eviction. Patty, why would you say this? Well, if we're already in eviction court, when that decline, you're denied, comes through, then we're moving forward with the lockout and blah, 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 blah. In the event you get paid, we're just done there. At least you were first in line, right? Okay. They paid 1 month, Val? I already have a new tenant waiting, but it's taking more time. So yes, probably need to add to the vacancy policy. Tomorrow will be 30 days. Just once it's finished and signed off on and all the work's been done, that's when you have 30 days to get it re-rented. I'm just warning you because that is no joke. Should Erica and Andrea stay on the Zoom? No, I'll call you when I get off, you guys. I'll call you. I promise. All right. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
Yeah, I just have a question. Like, I don't know who the name of the woman that was speaking, regarding the tenant that she had that was paying with the third party wire.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, is it net? Can we do like the third party payer agreement, the one that PAA has? Just so that makes it, so we're not accepting the rent, assuming that there's
Yes.
a new tenant at the property?
Bingo. So let me explain what she's talking about, you guys. And she's saying, hey, Patty, don't forget to tell them about this. That's what I hear. And thank you, my team. So what she's saying
I'm not,
is,
because I just want to make sure, because that's what I would do. I want to make sure that's right.
you're spot on. Okay. You're perfectly correct. So when it comes to somebody paying the rent for the tenant, that's what we're talking about, a third party. It's not your tenant. And I'll give you an example. My son is now standing in front of you with my rent check saying, I need to pay my rent for my mom. She's in the hospital. Okay. If you take the rent check from my son becomes your tenant. You accepted rent from him. You just created a landlord-tenant relationship by accepting rent from that person. Okay? What she's talking about is having them sign a third-party payment agreement. And what that says is, I, Patty's son, am paying the rent for my mother, but have no desire to become a tenant. And by me paying the rent, I'm not agreeing to a tenancy. And they sign and date. And now, even though they paid their rent, they're not a tenant because they signed and said they're not a tenant. So anytime you accept payment from a third party, meaning someone other than your tenant, because you're the first party, your tenant's the second party, anybody else is a third party. Got it? Anybody else. So if you accept rent from that person is now your tenant, period, end of report.
Patty,
Does-
but
You can't correct it? You cannot correct it?
You have to have them sign stating that they're paying the rent on behalf of someone else and they have no interest in the property and they're not a tenant. And this does not create a tenancy.
are you talking about if the check is written by the mother, let's say, and signed, and he's just handing you the check?
Okay, if the check's from him,
No, not from him, from the
okay,
mother.
what if it's
It's
cash?
basically-
What if it's cash?
Oh, okay, then I could see. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you need the third party to sign an agreement stating that they're not creating a tenancy by paying you, that they're paying the rent on behalf of someone else. Otherwise, they become your tenant. Okay?
Got it.
Correct. Third-party payer agreement. Absolutely. But the verbiage I gave you is what it says. It's that simple. I am paying for this person. This does not create a tenancy, and I am not interested party in this property. Those are the three things that it has to say in order to protect you. Please explain the 602 since I need to do that immediately. A 602 letter is what gives law enforcement the authorization to make an arrest on private property for trespassing. So contact the sheriff's department, tell them you want to put a 602 letter on file. Then when you see him trespassing, call them and tell them you want him arrested. You have a trespasser. Also put up no trespassing signs. Okay? And like clockwork, you guys need to do that 602 letter every year. And I don't know that they'll call you like they did Arlene. That was,
Yeah,
'Cause that means-
I was blown away because I have 2 properties and they only called from 1.
well, and I think that might be the crime-free housing people trying to figure out what to do. I don't know. They just canceled the program and said it was discriminatory. So what do they do with those people now?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mhm.
But I've never, ever had law enforcement call me and tell me that my 602 was going to expire. That's,
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I thanked him and said I couldn't believe it.
yeah. That's crazy. I have other opinions about that. I think, and this is just the way my little blonde brain works, okay? I think that they're trying to disassociate landlords and law enforcement as being a team to work together. I think they are trying to turn us all against each other. That's what I think. I mean, some of the stuff that they came up with in why we can't meet with law enforcement anymore is a blatant lie. I mean, they said crime-free housing meetings don't stop crime. They're right, they don't, but it helps us recognize it. And after talking to law enforcement, here's what I was told. I have 32 apartment communities in my city, okay? All 32 of those managers report to me when they see something that doesn't make sense. They've helped us solve more crimes than you could imagine because we knew of something that was going on, but we didn't know where they ended up until the on-site manager called us and said, hey, these people are camping out in our common area with this blue van and they're up to no good. Then they knew where to go find them. By them canceling this program, it basically turned 32 informants in the city off. Does that make sense?
Nope.
But it makes sense what I'm telling you, right? Because
Right.
now those 32 people aren't going to have that wonderful relationship with law enforcement because they're not allowed to have these meetings. They're not allowed to have the training. It's garbage. Like, here, let me throw something at you guys and you'll all go, wait, what? Do you know that Gavin Newsom made prostitution not an arrestable offense?
What?
Oh, you want me to keep going? It gets even more disgusting.
Wow.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about. If you guys need to pay attention because things are changing and we have all these other value systems in our nation now. You know, we have people here from Haiti and other countries that don't have the same value structure we do. Okay. So I can tell you this. Remember back in the day, if you had people that were coming and going out of an apartment community, it was easy to say they were selling weed, they were selling dope, they're selling drugs, they're selling marijuana, they're up to nothing. If you have that going on now, it's probably not drugs. Drugs are legal. It's probably prostitution or human trafficking. No joke. Weed is legal. Psychedelic mushrooms are legal. Alcohol's legal. What are they coming and staying there only for 40 minutes for and leaving?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot taking those classes from law enforcement because it opened my eyes in an entirely different direction. Entirely. Like I had no idea. I went to a house once where I evicted the people and they left in the middle of the night. I didn't need the sheriff to lock them out, blah, blah, blah. When I got to the property, there was all these cans of like butane gas. They were empty, but you know, butane gas, the cans of butane, you know, you use them to fill up your lighters and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about? The house was full of them. Some of them were half full. The house, and when I say the house was full of them, there must have been 200 or more empty butane cans. Why would somebody have this much butane? My first thought was they must have some kind of stove and they're cooking on it because they didn't pay the gas bill. That was my first thought, but what in the hell are they doing with all this butane? I also see in the garage they have all this PVC piping, plastic yard sprinkler line stuff, right? Apparently, and I had no idea until I took a crime-free housing meeting and got involved with law enforcement, they stuff these plastic PVC pipes with marijuana, stuff them, and then they introduce butane gas that goes up through this pipe, and this concentrated stuff drips out of it they call honey oil. So it's concentrated marijuana, and that's how they do that. I had no idea. But here's a bigger question. Butane gas in a residential dwelling in tubes is a really bad idea. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, okay? But I had no idea that that's what was going on most likely until I started getting involved with the sheriff's department and crime-free housing and learning more of that kind of aspect of what to look out for. I had no idea, none, clueless. So the disconnect between law enforcement and landlords, they're driving a wedge in there. They canceled the program. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to be savvy. I have no doubt that the government wants to control the rental housing market. I can almost prove it. Almost. They even tried to pass a law a couple years back, and it'll be back on the docket this year. Mark my words, because this is the year they can come back with it. They tried to pass a law saying that if a property foreclosed with a tenant in possession, the tenant had first right of refusal to purchase that property. Hold on, pause. If the tenant had paid their rent every month for the past 12 months, that landlord probably wouldn't have got foreclosed on. One of the qualifications in order to purchase a house as a tenant is you have to show 12 months of rent receipts on time in order to qualify. So you and I both know that tenant isn't going to qualify because they haven't paid their rent for 12 months, because if they would have, the owner wouldn't have got foreclosed on. Here's the tricky part of the law, and it didn't pass, okay? But they'll be back with it this year, mark my words. What they tried to pass was, if the tenant doesn't qualify, then the next first right of refusal to purchase the property goes to a tenant advocate group. Wait, are you saying Basta's gonna buy property and be landlords? That's what they're trying. And what they said is, if a tenant advocate group wants to purchase the property, then they have up to 1 year to obtain funding. So in simple English, what that means is that the bank has to hold that property for a year, before they can either get paid from the tenant advocate group or list it for sale to the general public. That law didn't pass, but it'll be back on the docket this year. 2024 is when it can come back, because they tried it in 2022 and it did not go. So with that being said, think about what's happening and what they're trying to do here. Val, regarding rent payments, I have a tenant that pays by bank paper check. Yep. I've told them many times that using bank checks takes at least a week to get to me. I called her on the 6th to say I did not receive the check. She said she sent it on the 5th. I did not receive the check till the 12th, but check does say issued on the 5th. Is this acceptable without the late fee? Did she mail it to you, Val? Because if she mailed it to you, it has to do with the postmark. The bank mailed it. What's the postmark on the check? Or the postmark on the envelope?
Recording in progress.
So with that said, you're probably not going to be able to charge them a late fee because there's no postmark. But the bank mails the same day they cut them, and they do that intentionally. So no. And just so you guys know, we're probably going to lose late fees through the entire state. We're probably going to be told in the very near future that we cannot charge late fees anymore. And I'll own it. That's all because of me. Because I've done it. Oh, watch late fees and don't be shocked if we lose them. And it has to do with making secret profit or price gouging. So let me explain. If I don't pay my mortgage on time, my bank, my mortgage company charges me $35. Okay. I have a property in LA County and the rent is $3,500. And guess how much my late fee is? 10%. So it's $350. If my tenant doesn't pay their rent on time, technically I get a $350 late fee. Only my bank only charges me $35. So am I making a secret profit? Am I price gouging? Well, Your Honor, we're trying to use this as a deterrent. Well, you're right, it is a deterrent until you collect it. So they're currently being heavily litigated. That's why your legal counsel is telling you to remove late fees from your ledger before you go to trial, so it doesn't trigger that investigation. But it is heavily litigated and we don't know how it's going to come out in the future, but it is something that we need to watch out for because late fees, we're probably going to lose them. Okay? Don't get pissed off when it happens. All right, you guys, I'm going to get off of here. You guys have a great week. Sisters, I am going to call you right now. Okie doke.
If I ask one quick, it's actually a two-part of it, it's very fast.
Go ahead.
Okay, my first question is, if I have a new property, a new owner, and I'm gonna go and let them know, I'll let all the tenants know that there is a new property management company. What document do I have to give them to inform them?
You're doing a takeover letter. Dear residents, as of, and I'm just throwing out dates, March 20th, we are the new property management company for the property located at blank. Please
Okay, so
pay
it's just-
us. Huh?
It's no actual document, it's just us on a letterhead writing a letter saying, hi, this is us, here we are, this is our address, our business hours, just typical info like that.
It has to have some consistencies on it, okay? So it has to have who they pay the rent to, where they pay the rent, what phone number they call in case of an emergency, and who has their security deposit. 4 things.
I think it's,
Who the-
Patty, I think it's Civil Code 1962. And
Thanks.
I think there's a form. Yeah.
It's not civil code, it's civil process, 1962.2, and there doesn't have to be a form. It's just, it's got 4 things it has to have on it, okay? It has to tell them where they pay the rent to, who they contact in case of an emergency, where their security deposit is, who they pay the rent to, who they contact in case of emergency, who they pay their security deposit, or who has their security deposit, and when this happened. So as of March 20th, as an example, we are the new property management company for the property located at blank. Please note that you can call us Monday through Friday and you may pay your rent to us by going to this address, right? And then we have your security deposit in the amount of Okay, it's called a
Okay.
takeover letter.
And if I don't have a security deposit, would stay with the owners? Just would let
Correct.
them know your security.
You want to, bingo. This is where you tell them, I don't have your deposit money, the owner does.
Okay, very good. And what verbiage would you use to say that?
The owner has retained your security deposit and has possession of it.
Security deposit and house possession. Okay, the last question that I have is on contracts, new tenant contracts. Do we use on the contract with the name of the actual owner of the property, or do we use the name of the property management company?
I'm choosing my words carefully. In corporate America, we always name the owner.
Okay.
Okay? Because
Okay.
look at it this way, and I'm gonna say this out loud, so pay attention, okay?
Mhm.
When you put the name of the lessor, you're telling them who they need to sue.
Makes sense.
Don't name yourself. A lot
Makes a
of
lot of sense.
landlords say, we don't want to be on the lease contract. We don't want them to know who we are. We don't want them to know our name. We don't want them to know how to contact us. I hate to tell you this, folks, but that is public record. Anybody can run title and find out who the owner of record is. And if it's an LLC, guess what? That's public information also. You can run, but you can't hide. Face it head on, make sure you have insurance, and face it head on. Don't try to hide from it, because the more you try to run and hide, the more it intrigues an attorney to go chase you. And it's not difficult to find you, trust me. But when you encourage an attorney to go chase you, you make them mad. Okay? You can run, but you can't
Very good.
hide. I mean, and that's me talking to you out
Perfect.
loud.
Thank you so much.
But you don't want to name your property management company as the lessor. You want to name the owner or their LLC or whatever their entity is on title. Whatever title says is what should be on the lease contract.
But we can still sign for them at the end of the contract.
As an agent for the owner, you can appear for them in court.
Okay, so we just have to say when we sign at the end of the contract where it says we just put agent for the owner.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, Patty. Thank you so
Anytime.
much.
Build all your costs into the rent, including late fees. That's what the liberal politicians are driving us to do. They actually want us now in Airbnb, you have to disclose all the fees in your advertising. So a cleaning fee, a key fee, an overnight fee, of this fee, of that fee, it all has to be in your advertising. And you watch, once July hits and we can only ask for a maximum of 1 month's rent as a security deposit, you watch how many of us start conjuring up fees. We're going to have to put them in our advertising, but you watch. Mark my words, we will have fees, trust me. If we build it, they will come, right? If they tell us we can't, we'll figure out a way around it. Until they stop us from figuring out a way around it. All right, anybody have anything else? I'm gonna get off of here. All right, you guys have a great week. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Patty.
Bye, everybody.
You just gonna ignore